All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to begin by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and Shalom to the hopefully elect. All right, so the title of this video will be something to the effect of "Don't be like the foolish virgins." All right, something to that effect. All right, but I mean, as you can see, it's quite obviously, right? We're going into, the five foolish virgins, right? Those who were unprepared, right? And that's essentially the moral of the story is to not be unprepared, right? Because if you're on your watchtower, if you're being prudent, right, you're walking circumspectly, then you're seeing the signs of the times that we're in, which is the end of the end, right? I say the end of the end because the end began when the Son of the Father, who is Yahweh Shai, right? When he, was crucified and died on the cross, right? Or really just when he was, on earth, that marked the the beginning of the end, right? But now, right, through all the wars and rumors of wars, through the MOTB, the mark of the beast, which is the RFID CHIP, right? That small pill like chip, identification chip that they will put in your hand, right? Or your forehead in the case of the Neuralink, right, which has happened, or the MOTB really is already here, right? People have already taken the MOTB. People have already had that CHIP in their hands, the RFID CHIP in their hands, or the Neuralink chip in their heads, and things of that nature. Salakia, right? So the MOTB is already here. So, like I was saying, if you've been watching and noticing the signs, you will see that we are at the end of the end, right? America, aka Babylon, this place is about to fall, right? It has to fall, right? Because, like the scriptures say, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth, right? Esau, Edom, Babylon, spiritually Sodom and Egypt is America, right? So the Lord is going to destroy this place, right? He's going to destroy this, that beast, right? Which came out of the Roman Empire, which is America. He has to destroy it, right? So you have to be prepared. You got to know what's going on. You got to know the times that we're in and how urgent that these times are. And I say urgent in the sense that you got to repent, right? Like the scriptures tell you, repent for the kingdom is at hand, So I guess you can call that a introduction or prelude to the video, but, going into the virgins, we'll start at verse 1. This is Matthew 25 and verse 1. It says, "Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom," right? The kingdom of heaven. Now, the kingdom of heaven is true salvation, right? Because when you go into the scriptures, right, those of you who are learned, right, that all people will be in heaven, right? Now, those of you who are unlearned, that might sound kind of odd to you because growing up in a Christian church, or hearing other even some other camps, right, like IUIC and things of that nature, they believe in eternal damnation in a eternal fire, right? Meaning you be burning for an eternity, forever, right, with no end. But we know that that's not to be the case, right? The Lord, the world is going to be cleansed, meaning the world is going to be restarted, as in the sense of, like I said, for Esau is the end of the world and Jacob is the beginning of it that follows. So once America is destroyed, right, pursuant to the scriptures. And we can grab one of those just so I'm proving the point. But once Babylon is destroyed, right, the Lord himself is going to return us back to the land. It's in Ezekiel, if I'm not mistaken. See if I can grab, or maybe Jeremiah. Yeah. It's Jeremiah. Let me check Ezekiel too. Yeah. Which one? Let's see. Jeremiah. I will read this one. It's Jeremiah 30:3. It says, "For lo, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will bring again the captivity of my people, Israel and Judah, saith the Lord." Right? Israel and Judah representing who? The northern and southern kingdom, the two kingdoms. Right? Which, let's prove that too. When all is said and done, there'll be no more two kingdoms. Right? This is Ezekiel 37. Actually, I think this is what I was wanting to begin with. So we'll read this. This is Ezekiel 37:21. It says, "And say unto them, thus saith the Lord, Yahweh, behold, I will take the children of Israel from among the heathen." Where are we now? We're in America, among the heathen, right? Whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side. And really, not even just in America, right? Because Israel is in the four corners of the earth, meaning they're everywhere, scattered, the diaspora, right? It says the true Israel, right? It says, whether they be gone, and will gather them on every side. So Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, when he comes back, he's going to gather all of Israel, right? It says, and bring them into their own land. That's how you know the people in that land right now are currently not the true people of that land, because Yahushua himself did not come down and take them there. They were brought there by the British, right? I.e., or by way of, not i.e., but yeah, by way of the Balfour Declaration, right? Go read up on that. Verse 22, it says, "And I will make them one nation in the land upon the mountains of Israel, and one king shall be king of them to them all, and there shall be no more two nations, neither shall they be divided into two kingdoms anymore at all." Right? And we can really keep reading, right? But again, this is going to, Israel being brought together again, right? Being one whole nation, right? And this king, right? This king is going to be the one that, that rules, right? Because like I said, there's a kingdom of heaven, right? There has to be a king in the kingdom. Verse 23, it says, neither shall they defile themselves anymore with their idols, nor with their detestable things, nor with any of their transgressors, but I will save them of all their dwelling places, wherein they have sinned, and will cleanse them. So shall they be my people, and I will be their power, right? Because once we're in the kingdom, we're not going to sin anymore. Why? Because according to the second covenant, he's going to write his law in our inward parts, and no, we're not in the second covenant yet, right? And here it tells you who's going to be king, right? Verse 24, "And David my servant shall be king over them, and they shall all have one shepherd, and they shall also walk in my judgments and observe my statutes and do them." Right? And you can continue on, but point being, Israel has to be brought by Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? So me saying that, let me try to remember my original point. Salakia. Khan. So yeah, everybody is going to be in heaven, right? Getting Salakia. I kind of got off track, but trying to get back to the point, right? Everybody's going to be in the kingdom of heaven, right? So like I said, you have these other places that tell you that there's like an eternal fire, an eternal death, and things of that nature. But no, no, after this place is destroyed, right? This place as in America is destroyed, Yahweh Shem Yahushua is going to take us back over to the land, our rightful land, and that's where we're going to dwell, so on and so forth, right? But that's the kingdom of heaven. That's salvation. That's true salvation, right? Salvation is being in the kingdom of heaven. Now, there's going to be, outsiders, but that's not salvation, But that's really another lesson. Salakia for getting off point. But this is getting back to Matthew 25:1. Right, we're trying to get. It's only 13 verses. We'll get through this fairly quickly. Depending on how the Spirit works. Right. So verse 1, it says, "Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps." Right? And you have to get that oil. What is that oil? It's the wisdom and knowledge of the scriptures, man. It's the book of Psalms, chapter 119, verse 105. I can just read it from there. It says, none. Well, I'll start 104. It says, "Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore, I hate every false way. None. Thy word is the lamp unto my feet and the light unto my path." So this word, this truth, this understanding, this knowledge, right? The precepts. That's that oil, man. So getting back to verse 5, right? You have to have the oil. You have to get the understanding. You have to, be aware, know where you are, know what's going on, repent. Get that oil. Make sure you store it up, right? You got to store up some, you got to do the work. Now, don't get that misconstrued, right? Working can't save you because, works without, roughly paraphrasing, works without faith is dead, right? Faith without works is dead. You got to have both. You can't have one and not the other. You can't have faith with no works. You can't have no works with, or you can't have works with no faith. But verse 5, let's get to verse 5, right? It says, "While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps," right? So this is like Yahushua coming back, and everything popping off, all the the nukes and all this, right? Because the scriptures tell you he's going to come as a thief in the night. He's coming as a thief in the night. And what does it say in verse 6? And at midnight there was a cry made. He's coming as a thief in the night. So if you're not ready, if you don't have that oil in your lamp, then you're not gonna be on your P's and Q's. You're not gonna be on point. You're not gonna have your oil, and we're gonna read what's gonna happen, right? So verse 7 again. "Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are going out." Their lamps are going out. All the people of the world, their lamps are going out. And when I say all the people of the world, right, all these virgins really can refer to just Israel, right? You got your 2/3 Israel, and you got your 1/3, your elect, right? So you know your wicked Jakes, right? They don't have the oil, so they're gonna try to come to the elect. You know, what did you say the name was again? What's the name of the Father? How what's the name of the Son? How do you do that? How do you do that? What's the breakdown of this? It's gonna be too late. It's gonna be too late. So verse 9, it says, "But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there not be enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves." So you're not gonna have time to break down scriptures. Not in that time, no. Especially not Jacob's trouble. You know? Verse 10. "And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage." That's why, you know, like Yahushua said, bid to the marriage, right? That's what we're striving for. We want to be that acceptable bride for Yahushua, right? So, like I said, and they that were ready, in verse 10, they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open unto us. But he said, but he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour where the Son of Man cometh. So you don't want to be caught outside. You don't want to be stuck outside. You're trying to scramble. Yeah, it's too late. It's gonna be too late then, right? So make sure you know. Let's read. This is Philippians 2:12. It says, Wherefore, my beloved, as ye have always obeyed, not as in my presence only, but now much more in my absence, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. You got to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling, right? You can't just sit around on your hands, right? You gotta do something, you know. Make sure you're storing up those good works. But quick lesson, but Lord willing, edifying. All right, so I'm gonna end by giving all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushua, Bahashem Rakakodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of the Great Millstone. Shalom.